A human soldier named Mark Hale stands on a ruined battlefield on the alien world of Virex 9. Smoke rises. Bodies everywhere. Beside him lies a fallen alien warrior woman, Commander Celera, feared across the galaxy. Her armor is cracked. Something is carved on the inside plate. It is his name. Not written. Carved deep. By hand. With a blade. Mark freezes. Why would the strongest alien commander carry his name inside her armor? Before he can lift the plate fully, enemy dropships roar above. He must escape. But he takes her with him. Welcome to my channel Sci-Fi Love Story. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Mark Hale moved through the burning field of Virex 9 with a weight of fear pressing against his chest, and the air was thick with smoke and heat, and the ground still shook from distant fire as he stepped over broken metal and silent bodies searching for any sign of movement, until he saw her, the alien woman every human soldier had learned to fear, Commander Celera, the blade storm of her people, known for her impossible speed and cold calm in battle. Yet now she was lying broken under the shattered wing of a fallen dropship, her armor cracked, glowing with fading energy, and for a moment he thought she was already gone, until her fingers twitched and her eyes moved under closed lids. He did not know why he did it. He did not know why his feet carried him forward, but something inside him whispered that he could not leave her there on the ground to die. The heat of the dropship washed over him as he knelt beside her, and when his hand touched her armor he felt the faint hum of an active core, barely alive, ready to fail at any moment. He pushed aside the jagged metal to get a better look, and that was when he saw it carved on the inside panel of her chest armor, a carving that should not exist, a carving that made his breath freeze in his throat. It was his name, carved deep and rough, as if made in desperation, as if she had pressed hard until metal gave way. The letters were unmistakable. Mark Hale, carved in the armor of the most feared alien commander. He stared at it, unable to think. Unable to understand why his name would be there, how she would know him, and why she would carry his name so close to her heart. Before he could make sense of it, the sky erupted with a roar of approaching engines, enemy ships sweeping low, scanning for survivors. And he had seconds to choose: leave her or carry her. Mark did not think. He simply lifted her weight onto his shoulders, surprised by how light she felt compared to the legend that followed her, and he ran into the jagged remains of the old mining sector, ducking behind metal pillars and broken beams while the ships passed overhead. Every step echoed with confusion and questions that clawed at his mind. Once he reached the old bunker entrance, he forced the door open and dragged Celera inside, laying her gently on the cold floor. Her breathing was uneven, shallow, almost too soft to hear. He removed the chest plate piece with shaking hands and stared again at the carved letters. No matter how long he looked, they did not change, they did not vanish, and he felt a strange pull in his chest, like a memory trying to surface, one he could not reach. He tried to wake her, calling softly, asking who carved it, why it was there, how she knew his name, but her eyes only half opened, unfocused, as if she saw someone else entirely. She whispered in her alien accent, a voice he expected to be sharp yet was soft and weak. Human, you kept your promise. He froze. What promise? He had no answer. She tried to say more, but her strength failed and her head fell back. Unconscious again, he sat beside her, trying to remember anything from his past, anything that could explain this, because he had never met an alien before the war had started, when he was already grown, not a child, not young enough to forget something important, unless something had happened long ago, something he had blocked out while he waited. And while she lay silent, he kept staring at the armor plate, turning it again and again, seeing not only his name but something else, a date carved beside it, a location to a place on Earth, and a symbol shaped like a vow mark from her culture. He had heard rumors about such marks used only when a life debt was sworn, and that thought made his stomach twist. Could she have met him on Earth before the war, before he was old enough to understand? He felt the walls tremble, suddenly dust falling from above, enemy scouts passing close, searching the area. He dimmed the lights, lifted his weapon, sat near the door. Heartbeat pounding, but they passed, and silence returned, leaving him once more alone with the alien woman who for some impossible reason carried his name inside her armor. When she woke again, her eyes focused on him, truly focused, and the moment she saw him her expression shifted, a mix of shock, relief, and something deeper, something he could not name. She whispered, your face has not changed, not to me, and he felt the world tilt because he had no idea what she meant. He tried to ask, but before she could answer. The ground shook again, louder, heavier. Enemy patrol closing in and they had to escape. He helped her stand, supporting her as they moved through the old tunnels until they reached the abandoned shaft hidden deep under the mountains, and there in the dim light with the world rumbling above, Celira finally looked at him with steady eyes and spoke the words that froze him. Human, the day I carved your name was the day you saved my life. You were only a child, and now I must tell you who you really are. The tunnel shook with dull thunder as Mark Hale stared at Celira, unable to breathe, unable to form a single clear thought, while her words echoed inside his skull. You saved my life when you were only a child, and you do not remember it, but I do. I remember every moment, every sound, every touch, and I have carried your name with me from that day until this one. Her voice was soft yet steady, filled with a weight that felt older than war, older than fear, and Mark could only kneel there beside her, surrounded by dust and dim light, while memories began to move like shadows behind a curtain still hidden but close. He asked her, how could I have saved you? I never saw an alien before the war. Her answer came slowly, as if each piece carried pain and truth. We were not supposed to enter your world. We were young scouts training on a forbidden route. Our small craft malfunctioned, and we crashed in one of your forests far from any human settlement. I was injured, frightened, alone. I thought I would die there, but a child found me, a human child with brown hair, dust on his cheeks, and a soft voice, and he did not scream, he did not run. He looked at me with wide eyes and said, you look hurt, let me help you. Those words live in my mind even now. She reached for her armor plate and traced the carving with trembling fingers. This name, I carved it because in my culture a life saved must be honored forever, and you had saved mine. I was afraid your people would find me, so you hid me among the trees and brought me water. I remember your small hands shaking as you tried to clean the wound on my arm. I remember the warmth of your jacket when you wrapped it around me. Even though the cold was making you shiver, you stayed with me until night fell, and when my people found me I never saw you again, but I remembered you always. Mark felt something break open inside him, like a door long sealed bursting outward, and a small blurry memory flickered for the first time, a memory he had always thought was a dream, a strange silver figure, a warm light bleeding through leaves, a voice that cried out in pain, and a small boy reaching out with shaking hands. He whispered, I think I remember you, or at least I remember a girl with strange silver eyes. She felt still for a moment, as if her heart stopped, then she nodded slowly. That was me. I never forgot you, and when I carved your name inside my armor I swore that if fate ever brought us together again I would repay my debt, even if it cost my life. As the memory grew clearer, Mark felt an ache forming in his chest, and the world around them hummed like the planet itself was holding its breath. He sat beside her in the dim light, unsure what to say, what to feel. Then the tunnel rumbled stronger, shaking dust loose from the ceiling, and Celira tensed. Enemy forces have tracked us, she said, her voice tightening. They have orders to kill me, and you both. They consider you a witness, they consider me a traitor. Mark rose, gripping his weapon, feeling fear surge through him. But beneath the fear, something else, something fierce, protective and old. He helped Celira to her feet. She leaned on him, breathing slowly, gathering her strength. The sound above grew louder, a heavy engine, the sharp pitch of scanners sweeping across stone. They are closing in, he said. Yes, but we will not fall here, she answered with a faint smile. You saved me once, I will stand with you now. Together they moved deeper into the mining shaft, the narrow tunnels echoing with a distant thunder of boots and metal claws. Celira guided him through broken lifts and fallen debris until they reached a cavern wide and open with bridges of rusted metal stretching over a deep chasm below them. The enemy finally arrived, their lights cutting through the darkness, their shadows stretching across the walls, and Mark felt the weight of the moment settle on his shoulders. Celira stepped forward, standing tall despite her wounds, her voice clear and strong. I owe this human a life, a bond older than war, and I will protect him until my last breath. The enemy commander stepped into view, a towering alien with dark armor glowing with sharp lines. He pointed his weapon at her. You swore loyalty to the Empire, and now you betray it for a human child. She lifted her chin. Not a child, a man, a soldier, and the one who gave me hope when I had none. Mark watched her, feeling something impossible rise inside him, an old connection, a sense that their lives had been tied long before this moment. The enemy opened fire, and Mark pulled Celira behind a collapsed beam, returning fire. The cavern roared with energy blasts, shaking the metal bridges. Celira surged forward, moving faster than he thought she could, her blade humming with faint blue light as she cut through the closest enemies. But each movement cost her strength, and Mark saw her knees tremble as she fought. He rushed to her, covering her flank, firing shot after shot until the metal bridge cracked beneath their feet with a deafening roar. The middle section collapsed, and the enemy soldiers stumbled, falling into the chasm below. The commander, however, leapt to safety, landing on the remaining edge facing them with burning fury. "You cannot escape," he growled. Salira stepped in front of Mark, her breath heavy, her stance unsteady, but her eyes burning with determination. "Maybe not, but I will not let you harm him." The commander fired a blast aimed straight at Mark. Salira saw it a heartbeat before he did. She lunged, pushing Mark aside, taking the full force of the blast against her armor. The impact threw her back, slamming her into the metal floor. The blue light of her blade flickered out, and the carved armor plate cracked open, fully revealing his name glowing faintly beneath the broken layers. Mark screamed her name and rushed to her, kneeling beside her as the commander approached, weapon raised. Salira whispered with fading strength, "You kept your promise even now, and I have kept mine." The commander aimed for Mark, but something inside Mark ignited a sharp, fierce fire. He rose, grabbed his fallen weapon, and fired with everything he had. The blast struck the commander, sending him tumbling off the bridge into the endless darkness below. Silence filled the cavern, only Mark breathing hard, heart pounding, and Salira lying still. Mark dropped to his knees, lifting her gently, her eyes barely open, her voice soft as breath. "Do not cry, human. I am alive because you existed, because you came back into my life." Mark shook his head, refusing to let her go, refusing to let his name on her armor be the end. He carried her through the tunnels, climbing out into the morning light where human reinforcements were finally arriving. He shouted for help. Medics rushed toward them, lifting Salira onto a stretcher, working quickly to stabilize her as she drifted in and out of consciousness. Mark stayed beside her, refusing to move, refusing to let go. When she finally woke hours later aboard the human medical ship, Mark was at her bedside, his hand close to hers. She looked at him with tired silver eyes and whispered, "You saved me again." He leaned closer, his voice low and steady. "I made a promise when I was a boy, and I will keep it for the rest of my life." Salira closed her eyes, peace softening her features. "Then our lives were always meant to cross," she whispered, and Mark knew she was right. Their story had begun long before war, long before fear, long before they knew who they were, tied by a simple moment of kindness that had changed both their futures. And now that bond was stronger than ever. As the ship carried them away from the battlefield, Mark held her hand, knowing this was not the end but the beginning of something